Welcome back to the deep dive. Listen, before we get into the heavy artillery today, and I do mean heavy, do me a huge favor.
Yes, absolutely.
Please smash that like and subscribe button. We are building something really meaningful here.
Growing a community that actually values digging into the truth.
Exactly. And we want you right there on the front lines with us, so hit subscribe. Now, today, look, usually we say we are looking at a book.
Right.
But that word feels, I don't know, too soft for what we have on the table today. We are unpacking Imago Christi Archetype of the Self by Conrad Riker.
And having read through this, calling it just a book feels entirely wrong.
It is. Riker actually calls it a field manual, a declaration of war.
It is certainly not a light beach read.
Yeah.
It is dense, it's ultra-incisive, and it is unapologetic.
We're doing this deep dive because I know a lot of you listening right now feel unsettled. Maybe you feel that sting of betrayal.
Which is a very specific feeling.
Very specific, whether it is from a family court system that totally chewed you up, an HR department that flagged you for a joke, or just society at large.
Telling you that your basic instincts are somehow wrong.
Right. Riker has written this specifically for you. He calls it a blueprint for reclaiming masculinity.
And for understanding the history of our institutions before they were captured by what he identifies as feminists and Marxists, he wants to help men escape this gynocentric matrix.
And I want to be perfectly clear right off the bat. If this conversation resonates with you today, if you are a men's rights activist or consider yourself a red-pilled man, you need to go to Amazon Kindle or Google Play Books right now.
Right now.
And buy this ebook. We are going to give you the tactical overview here, but the full arsenal of information.
The citations, the historical data.
Yeah, all of that is in the text.
The author frames this explicitly for the red-pilled manosphere audience. He is speaking to men who feel they have seen through the lies of the modern world.
They're looking for a functional exit strategy.
Exactly. So we should probably start with the diagnosis section of the manual.
Yeah, let's get into linguistic sabotage. This part actually stopped me in my tracks.
The war on words.
Right. We hear the term toxic masculinity everywhere. It's in commercials, it's in schools. But Riker digs into the history, and it is not what I thought it was at all.
It's a classic case of a term being entirely hijacked.
From the 1990s.
Yes, Riker traces it back to the 90s, to a guy named Shepard Bliss. Now, Bliss was not a feminist academic attacking men.
He was trying to help them.
Exactly. He was part of the mythopoetic men's movement. When he originally coined toxic masculinity, he was describing a very specific type of male conduct.
The unemotional, distant, hyper-violent stuff.
Right, but he was saying that conduct was harmful to the man himself. It was a therapeutic term.
It was about men gathering to actually process emotion, right, to heal from the pressure of always having to be these stoic warriors.
Precisely, but the book argues that feminist blogs and media outlets appropriated the term.
They completely flipped it.
They stripped away the nuance and weaponized it. They used it to suggest that male biology itself was the toxic part.
That testosterone aggression, the drive to conquer, that those natural instincts are toxic to everyone else, that is a massive shift.
Riker calls it linguistic warfare. If you can control the language, you control the thought process.
Which brings us to the redefinition of patriarchy.
Another prime example in the book, if you look at the actual etymology, pater means father, and arch means rule or foundation.
But in the modern context, the word just creates this image of a boot stamping on a human face.
The ultimate oppressor.
Right. But Riker contrasts this modern grievance caricature with the actual Roman concept. He brings up the Roman paterfamilias.
Which was not about tyranny at all. The text explains it was about immense duty.
The legal obligation to feed, shelter, and protect
Everyone under his roof.
Yeah.
That included his wife, his children, and even freed slaves. The paterfamilias had a profound duty.
So if someone starved, he was legally liable.
Exactly. Riker's argument is that we have traded a system of Roman duty and protection for a modern narrative of grievance.
We stripped the father of his authority, but we totally kept the expectation that he pays all the bills.
Right. And he connects this linguistic shift to something much broader, a betrayal matrix.
And this is where the history gets a little shattery. The UNESCO Tensions Project from 1947, I had never even heard of this before reading the source.
It is a very specific, often overlooked slice of history. But Riker uses it to argue there was a deliberate bureaucratic effort to reshape Western culture right after World War II.
He mentions internal memos, right, about replacing phallic war memorials.
Yes. The text cites discussions about the need to replace obelisks, towers, basically symbols of male power with yonic forms.
Yonic forms. So we are talking about female symbolism.
Correct. Curves, voids, openings. The book actually points to Chicago's Cloud Gate as an example.
The bean.
Right, the bean. It points to that as a modern manifestation of this exact ideology.
I have seen the bean in person. I just thought it was a cool, shiny mirror thing.
Well, Riker sees it very differently.
Yeah.
He describes it in the text as a giant reflective vagina marketed as high art.
Wow.
He argues it is a deliberate replacement of the masculine obelisks of the past, a softening of public space.
To align with the feminine worldview, I will definitely never look at that sculpture the same way again.
But he argues this goes way deeper than public art. It goes into the political machinery.
The shift from class struggle to gender grievance.
Exactly. Riker traces a pivot in leftist ideology. Old school Marxism focused on class struggle, the worker versus the owner.
But when that economic revolution didn't pan out in the West,
The strategy shifted. Riker points to the Frankfurt School and cultural Marxism. They pivoted from economics directly to identity.
if you can't unite people by class, you unite them by identity groups and set them against an oppressor.
And Riker argues this ultimately led to the gynocracy.
A society prioritized entirely around female safety and consensus, rather than male achievement and risk.
He does not pull any punches with that term. And he uses the Musuo tribe in China as a case study for this.
Yeah, I've seen documentaries on them. They are always framed as this peaceful, feminist utopia where grandmothers run everything and there is no war.
But Riker's data tells a very different story. The book claims that if you scratch the surface of this utopia, you find incredibly high rates of male depression.
Rampant alcoholism too, right?
Yes. And a total collapse in resilience during crises.
So when the pressure is actually on, the system breaks.
That is the argument he is making. He connects it to a concept he calls CPT symmetry violation.
From physics.
Right. In physics, it involves the balance of charge, parity, and time. But Riker uses it as a metaphor.
How does that apply to matriarchies?
He claims that matriarchal societies collapse faster, specifically 20% faster, according to the data he cites.
Because they lack masculine conservation.
Exactly. Masculine hierarchies focus on defense, structure, accumulating resources for the future. Gynocentric systems focus on distribution and emotional consensus right now in the present,
So without the walls that men build, the society just dissipates its energy.
and collapses under external stress.
That is a heavy concept. And it moves us perfectly from sociology into what he calls biological realism.
The science against dogma section.
This is where he pushes back hard against the idea that gender is just a social construct.
He looks at hard biological data here. He cites a study from Massachusetts General Hospital.
The one that tracked men for years. The findings there were stark.
Very. For every 100-point drop in testosterone, there was a 25% increase in mortality.
That is genuinely terrifying. We aren't talking about just feeling a bit tired or losing muscle mass. Low T literally kills you.
The book implies that male vitality is biologically coded directly to testosterone. When society suppresses male drives, it is literally suppressing male life force.
And he discusses the neurological differences too. I loved the Winston Churchill anecdote he used.
It's a great example. We think of Churchill as the bulldog who saved Western civilization, but Riker focuses on his painting.
Right, because it wasn't just a cute hobby for him.
Riker argues that Churchill used painting to recalibrate his prefrontal cortex. The intense focus lowered his blood pressure and organized his mind during the massive stress of the war.
And he mentions modern executives using boxing for the exact same reason.
Simulating crisis to keep that edge sharp. It is about harnessing biology, not medicating it away.
He leans heavily on evolutionary psychology here too. David Buss's work.
Yes. He discusses hypergamy,
The female instinct to marry up or seek superior genetics.
and he contrasts that with the way society treats male sexuality.
He drops some wild stats on dating apps, the Tinder experiment data.
This is a crucial point in the manual regarding deception. The text cites data showing that 91% of female profiles hid or misrepresented their age or weight,
91%.
compared to only 43% of males.
That is nearly everyone on the female side.
Riker uses this to argue that deception is actually a recognized sexual strategy for women that has become totally normalized.
While male preferences, like wanting visual cues or honesty about age, are shamed as superficial.
Exactly. He is pointing out a massive double standard.
And he connects this lowered standard of truth directly to the parasite stress theory.
By Gad Saad.
Right. This is where the book jumps from dating apps straight into corporate America.
Parasite stress theory originally explains how biological parasites shape culture. But Riker applies it to organizations.
He argues that organizations rot when standards are lowered for inclusivity.
Yes, when ideology overrides merit. He links this directly to the Boeing 737 ACAX failures as a case study.
Because Boeing prioritized DEI initiatives over a meritocratic engineering culture.
According to the book, yes. When you prioritize ideology, you introduce parasites into the system. People or policies that drain resources without contributing to the core mission.
Resulting in catastrophic failure. So we have the diagnosis. The language is rigged, the institutions are captured by feminists and Marxists, and biology is being ignored to the point of early mortality.
It is a grim picture he paints.
So what is the solution for the red-pilled man? This brings us to the actual title of the book, Imago Christi.
This is the crucial pivot. Up until now, he is dismantling the world. Now he wants to build the man.
And to be clear, he is not talking about the weeping hippie Jesus that you see in modern softened churches.
Not at all. He describes a divine masculine blueprint.
The Christ who cracked whips in the temple.
Exactly. He integrates Christian theology with Jungian psychology, specifically shadow work.
Jung argued that you cannot be truly good unless you are capable of immense violence, but actively choose to keep it under control.
If you are just harmless, you aren't virtuous, you are just weak.
So the Imago Christi is about controlled power.
It's about logos, reason, order, the word. Riker argues a man must be capable of force but keep it strictly under the control of logos.
You are dangerous but disciplined. He calls it a tactical manual. And he actually brings the Stoics into this alongside the theology.
Marcus Aurelius' meditations features very heavily, but not as armchair philosophy.
He describes Navy SEAL candidates using it during Hell Week.
Using Stoic quotes as a kill switch.
A kill switch for the need for validation and comfort.
When the pain is unbearable, they use these mental frameworks, like pain is information.
Or the obstacle is the way.
Right, to shut down the emotional brain that just wants to quit. Riker calls this logos armor.
And he suggests using this armor against modern emotional arguments. He brings in Thomas Aquinas for this.
Yes. Riker suggests using rigorous, cold logic to cut through the emotional terrorism of modern debates.
When someone tries to manipulate you with shame, like if you don't agree with me, you're a bad person.
You use logos to dismantle the premise. If you stay grounded in logic, you cannot be manipulated by their emotion.
I think for a lot of the men's rights guys listening, the section on fatherhood is going to hit the absolute hardest.
Undoubtedly. He frames modern fatherhood as absolute warfare,
He presents devastating statistics on fatherless homes and prison rates.
arguing that the systematic removal of the father is the single most destructive force in society right now.
And he looks hard at the legal system. That specific legal case he cited in Remarriage of Caden.
Where the court granted step-parents' rights that actually superseded the biological father's rights.
He calls that state-sanctioned filicide.
The state effectively killing the role of the father. He views the family courts as an engine designed to strip men of their sovereignty.
So, if the courts are rigged, the culture is hostile, and corporate America is rotting from DEI, what does the book say we actually do?
He outlines the resurrection protocol.
Which starts with something counterintuitive. Stop arguing.
Stop arguing with NPCs, non-player characters.
Don't waste energy on people just reciting a cultural script.
You cannot logic someone out of position they didn't logic themselves into in the first place.
Instead, he says we need to build parallel institutions, parallel economies,
He uses Detroit real estate as an example of this.
buying dirt and land as a generational asset.
Because it's physical.
Yeah.
It's real. He contrasts this with the fleeting nature of viral tweets.
You can get that dopamine hit from owning someone in a debate online.
But owning land lasts for generations. It can't be canceled.
Real assets versus digital noise. Though he does warn about digital threats too. The Grinder Grifter cautionary tale.
Learning digital sovereignty. That story about the woman who faked cancer to manipulate men into funding her lifestyle.
Men are biologically conditioned to want to protect, to save the damsel.
And the Grinder Grifter is a harsh lesson in spotting deception and protecting your hard-earned resources.
It ties right back to that 91% deception stat on Tinder. You have to be incredibly vigilant.
Which leads to his final pillar in the protocol, mentorship.
The Alcoholics Anonymous model, but applied to masculinity.
Riker argues that modern men are heavily addicted to female validation.
That we will destroy our own lives just to get a nod of approval from a gynocentric society.
So the AA model is about men keeping other men brutally honest.
He shares that intense story about a mentor actually tracking a protege's text messages.
To break the spell of a toxic relationship.
It's an invasion of privacy, sure, but the book frames it as a necessary intervention to save the guy's life.
Pointing out exactly where he was being manipulated. Building a brotherhood that actually means something, not just a group of drinking buddies.
A circle that absolutely will not let you fail.
Riker is asking men to step out of the current cultural stream entirely.
Stop trying to fix captured institutions from the inside.
Start resurrecting an old system on your own terms.
Which leads perfectly to his final provocation on legacy. He contrasts the Great Pyramid with modern academia.
The Great Pyramid was built by men, focused on eternity, and it has stood for thousands of years.
Contrast that with modern gender studies papers.
Who reads them? Who is going to remember them in 10 years, let alone 1,000?
He asks the reader directly, are you building a cathedral or are you just tweeting?
Are you creating something eternal or just consuming the noise?
That is the question you need to ask yourself today. And look, we have barely scratched the surface here.
There is so much more tactical advice in the text.
Chapters on financial structuring, fitness protocols, more on the theology of the warrior Christ. If you want the full battle map, you need to join the digital war room. Go follow at Conrad and Riker at Substack.
He updates it regularly with new field notes. It's an essential resource.
And seriously, I am going to say it one last time because it is that important. Go to Amazon Kindle or Google Playbooks right now and buy Imago Christi, Archetype of the Self.
If you are ready to stop apologizing for existing and start building, this is your manual.
That is it for today's deep dive. If you want more of this forbidden knowledge, make sure you smash that like button and subscribe to the channel.
We will keep bringing you the intel you need to navigate this.
We'll see you next time. Stay sharp.
And hold the line.